Welcome to the RevRoom. I'm your host, Rachel Bryant. Join me each episode as we discuss the strategies of top marketing practitioners, uncovering the tactics that transform ideas into revenue. Whether you're a seasoned marketer or an aspiring leader, the RevRoom is your go-to source for actionable advice and industry trends. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and enjoy this episode. All right, revenue rock stars, let's talk about something that's been driving me crazy lately. And I know I'm not alone here. You know what I see way too often is companies treating their partnership strategy like the awkward cousin at Thanksgiving dinner. Remember that a couple weeks ago? You keep them far away from the main event, and we're keeping partners away from the main event that is demand gen. So here's the truth. Partnerships aren't just another box to check or a nice to have add on to your marketing efforts. They should be your secret sauce, your revenue multiplier, your why didn't we do this sooner moment. At Inverter, we're all about getting practical and real with our clients about this because let's be honest, your board doesn't want to hear about siloed initiatives. They want to see results. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome someone who totally gets it. Jane Serra, who's the VP of Growth Marketing at DaxtraTechnologies. And Jane's been crushing it in B2B marketing for over 15 years, almost 20, consistently using partnerships as a top revenue driver. In this episode, Jane shares how she breaks down those pesky silos, builds partnerships that actually deliver value, and creates campaigns that make both partners and CFOs happy. Time to get real about making partnerships work harder for your demand gen strategy. So let's get into it right now. Okay, well, welcome everybody. I'm really excited about today's episode. I've got Jane Serra here, who's joining us, and we're going to talk all about partnerships and how to leverage that to accelerate your demand generation programs. So Jane's got a ton of experience there. I'm really excited about our conversation today. So welcome, Jane, to the podcast. Will you just introduce yourself to the listeners and watchers, I guess?
Yes.
And let them know a little bit about you, your history, your background.
You got it. And thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on this end of the microphone. Although I got to say, I am the worst at introducing myself. I don't, I'm good at introing other people. And I'm like, I freeze when it comes to me. But
I'm awful at it too.
Right?
Yes, I
think it's a common marketer thing. Like it's kind of like the hairdresser has the worst hair, the cobbler in his shoes thing. Marketers, where typically we suck at marketing ourselves. But I'll give it a shot. Let me know how I do. So Jane Serra, I'm the VP of Growth Marketing at a company called Daxtra. We're in the recruitment tech space. I have been in marketing and B2B marketing for almost 20 years, 17, 18 years, somewhere around there now. I think this is right around the cusp where we were talking about this offline at one point where we stopped keeping track. So that's where I am. I am one of the rare few marketers who knew they wanted to do marketing in college, went to school for marketing, went to graduate school for marketing, still in marketing to this day. So I followed that very straight path, which I feel like it's an outlier nowadays. But hey, and I've always been a generalist, but why I'm really pumped to be here today and chatting with you about partnerships and partner marketing specifically is at every company I've been at, partner marketing and partnerships have been a top 3 demand driver, lead driver, pipeline driver. So really excited to unpack that today with you. But yeah, me in a nutshell.
That's great, Jane. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. You did wonderful. Fantastic.
Thank you. I'll work on it.
I am not one of those linear marketers. I have a storied background of very strange education that led me to this.
I love it.
For another day.
So much more exciting. My path is boring.
I don't know. Well, I brought you here, so it can't be that boring. So Here we go. Well, one of the things we like to do here on the Rev Room is before we dig into the content with our guests, we love to have them share one of their favorite mugs. I also bring one of mine just to, get us started, but it's Christmas season, as we can see behind you. We can see behind me. We're recording this in mid-December of 2024. So I actually have one of my lovely Christmas mugs here.
So nice.
I actually swap out all of our mugs in our cabinet for all of our Christmas mugs.
You're who I want to be.
The decorations. And this one's, I love it the most because it's big, right? It holds a lot.
Yes.
Coffee in it. So Cheers to
Love
that.
it.
Let's hear about
That makes
yours,
me want to
Jane.
get a blanket and put on like the fire, the Yule log on
Yes,
TV.
I have a blanket that looks almost like this. So
Yes.
yes, I'm with you on that.
So mine, I gotta say a gripe. My true favorite mug is big, same as yours, right? Like I like that big round one. It just feels more comforting and cozy. When I have hot coffee, I'm typically an iced coffee person. But
Huh.
this is my favorite mug for other reasons. If you can read this, can you read it or is it mirror?
No, it says, I'm silently correcting your grammar. Yes.
I got this as a Christmas present from one of my best friends from college, God, like over 10 years ago. And I still to this day love it. It's just so snarky and true because I now have a 5-year-old or almost 5-year-old, and he corrects me. He's bilingual. I am not. And because we live in Miami, and whenever I say something wrong in Spanish, he corrects me. And he got that from me because I grew up correcting
Okay.
everybody, grammar and everything. I don't
Oh,
mean
I
any
love
harm
that so
by it.
much.
I can't help it.
Yeah. But I love that it's like that sort of little snarky,
Yes.
passive aggressive-y kind of thing, I'm silently doing it.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I
I
love
have to
it.
be
Tells me a lot
careful
about
when
you,
I
Jane.
bring
I
that
love it.
out.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Now you've told the world, so it's
There we
okay.
go.
We're there now. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about partner marketing
Yes.
and really just fueling that demand gen engine. And I know from my experience, both on the corporate side and working in marketing teams, and then also here at Inverta and working with marketing teams, it's kind of the often forgotten part of driving
Yes.
demand gen. And it's very much so siloed in many ways, right? Partner marketing is sort of its own team, and they rarely talk to demand gen, or, maybe they do it in an all marketing team meeting or something, but there's not a lot of coordination there. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about like what made you say, hey, light bulb, we really need to fuel this.
Yeah. So I think because I come from scrappy marketing teams, team of one, I always think of like Melissa Moody and Ashley McGovern of the two pizza marketing team. I was probably like the one pizza marketing team, team of one, team of two, just growing up in my career. And so to me, it was always, I realized it pretty soon on the power of bringing in partners. It probably started when I was at a Microsoft Dynamics reseller. So we were by definition a partner of
Yeah.
Microsoft. So everything we did was like, okay, we brought in Microsoft to come speak. We brought in Microsoft to do this, and we took their content, and there was always a collaboration there. So that I just realized this, by the way, live on the show, that probably planted the seed of partnerships for me and seeing the true value. Because then I went into the agency world where I was marketing a digital marketing agency, not the customers, but the agency itself. And it was huge for us as we wanted to move upstream and drive demand from enterprise customers or prospects. We had to align with the right partners. So we aligned with partners who were already in the enterprise space. We aligned closely with Apple, right, for Apple ads and of course, Microsoft ads again and Google. But we brought all of these in and had really big speakers come to events and come to dinners. And we showed our alliances with these partners. And of course, those big partners don't promote you or promote for you. They have a lot of red tape. But us just aligning ourselves with those partners as part of our go-to-market drove a ton of the right demand for us. So it's always just been ingrained in me that partnerships equal demand gen vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really smart. And it's funny that you talk about the Microsoft Dynamics piece and that you were a partner. And when you're leveraging a partner, you always think about how can we do that more? Right. And
Yes.
sometimes when you're like in the world of like you've got lots of partners,
Yeah.
some informal, some formal. It's a little bit more challenging to think about those opportunities. So talk a little bit about how you have identified some of those opportunities, maybe some examples of some things that you've
Yeah.
done or ways that you've really leveraged partnerships to enhance your efforts.
You got it. So two examples. One is that agency side, right? Where we really, in that case, and probably a lot of companies go through this, everyone wants to move up to enterprise, right? Bigger dollar values, fewer you have to close. If you're not PLG, it makes sense to go towards enterprise, or both. So as people move up, when I did that with this agency, again, aligning with those key partners just really brought in it elevated our presence. Doing that with them and going to market, just being aligned. And it also, another key factor was awards with those partners. So if we won awards from these partnerships that all of a sudden recognized us as a top X agency for ABC, that went astronomically well for us to
Mhm.
just break into a new, bigger enterprise target audience. Another example, which was more in the PLG space, I was at a company called Just Uno, which is a pop-up company, amazing people. But they are a huge Shopify and Shopify Plus partner. So a lot of our pipeline came from the marketplace to Shopify. The golden days, they were like a just golden goose for every partner. That marketplace was like its own Google. That
Mhm.
tapered off over the years. But what helped us drive pipeline there was we launched something called a Shopify Masterclass. And so we partnered with not just Shopify, though we did bring Shopify in as well, similar to the agency example with the bigwigs of Google, Apple, et cetera, for that presence. But we also brought in a ton of other Shopify partners that were complementary to us and not competitive to speak on different aspects of winning in the Shopify world, right? So as an e-com business, where you could succeed, how you could succeed from soup to nuts, really, the entire
Yeah.
journey. So we did this Shopify masterclass all together. And by partnering with probably 8 to 10 different partners, it just, more than 10x our reach because each of these partners had their own audiences that they were promoting to. No one was competitive. So everyone promoted all 10 or so episodes. And it was a huge demand gen engine for us, leveraging these partnerships. It got us more reach. It created a lot of tight partnerships, which also then did create referrals, though that wasn't our initial goal. But by
Yeah.
creating these positive relationships with these partners and providing this opportunity for them free of cost, other than their time and resources, but we were running the whole thing, it just created such a great foundation for relationships and partners with them, in addition to
Yeah.
pipeline and demand gen.
That's a great story. I love that. And I want to talk a little bit later about how you actually measure that
Yeah.
success. But first, I want to ask you about as you're building demand gen programs, and like that example is great. But like even in your new role or recently, how are you thinking about which partners to bring in? Because a lot of times we might
Yes.
have multiple partners that we could utilize, and maybe we can only do one or two or something like that. And your example, there was multiples, but like, how do you think about and decide which way to go and how to do that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm going to be super honest here. It's a mix of two things, right? Or probably many, many more. But if I'm simplifying it, two main factors. One is like the audience and performance, right? So do they have the same ICP we're looking for this campaign? If I take a
Yeah,
step
love that.
back, what we've talked about before and kind of how I approach this is I have my marketing strategy. We think of our campaigns, and then typically we'll think, okay, who can we loop into this? There are instances where we're like, okay, we really want to test out working with this partner. What can we do together? But it typically comes from this is our strategy. This is the content we want to create or topic we want to create content on. Who makes sense to bring into this conversation? And then we align, we make sure who has the right ICP, who already has content on this or knows something or has something to add value on this particular topic or campaign. And then we move forward. But the second factor, this is where I'm being super honest, it's also ease of working with them, right? If you've worked with them in
Mm,
the past and you have that relationship, that rapport, they answer you, they get back to you, they're reliable. That goes so far in partnerships land that you help them, you are mutually supportive, you get results together. But just that ease of working, because we all have our days, right? So no slight on if there's a one-off bad instance, but if somebody is just not responding to you, they don't get back to you, they don't deliver, they end up not promoting anything, they kind of go on your partnership
yes.
shit list, to be honest, right? And you don't want to work with them in the future.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Um, I want to unpack that a little bit, but
Yeah,
let's go back to the first scenario that
you
you
got it.
mentioned, which I think is really important because one thing you said that I don't think you intentionally, maybe you did. But, like, you started with strategy and, like, what are the offers that we want to do? So you're starting with a top line demand gen strategy, and then it's
Yeah.
about pulling in partners, where in so many cases, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well, I've seen where partners are just off doing their own thing,
Yeah.
and, like, it's a separate strategy, quote, unquote, or just their running motion, right? And there's no connectivity between the strategy for demand gen and the strategy for partners, and what I love what
Okay.
you've said is, like, partners becomes more of a channel that we're delivering our offers through versus this separate sort of siloed thing we're doing. And I think events are very similar to that if we think about just events in general, but
Yeah.
a lot of those could be partner events. But I think that's really smart of what you said is that what it starts with strategy. What do we want to do? How are we going to accomplish it? And what are the channels we're going to use to do that?
Yes. So I can give an example at Daxtra, something we're doing as a team. So the leadership team got together for 2025 planning, as we do, and we aligned on who are our top partners for the first quarter, or H1, right?
Mm,
Who are we going all in on? And we identified those partners across the board. So that's partnerships, sales, marketing, CS. So we can all get together, and product as well, right? So product, making sure that all of these integrations are functioning properly if there is one. We did choose to go with integration heavy first. So making that decision just completely horizontally, everybody's on board, goes so far. And then the next step is I try to be collaborative, and we are very collaborative, but there's always one-off instances when everyone's juggling so much in this do more with less era that seems to be
mhm.
ongoing. But we try to be collaborative in that we have a weekly meeting with our partnerships heads, and we have an OEM partner head, and we have a marketplace and referral partner head. And then there's partner marketing, right? So these three areas meet together every week, and we go over, okay, what's top of mind, what's happening with partners that we might not be privy to or aware of on the marketing side. And this is what's happening in marketing, and we make sure we align. We join our partner calls together. All of us are typically on those calls as we're planning our go to market. So everyone's in tune on, okay, what's happening on the OEM side, what's happening with marketplaces, and how can we all have the same messaging? What's resonating the most? So making sure that the teams are aligned and going to market together is super key.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I don't know if I've ever had an organization I've either worked with or worked in where the partner marketing team, the demand gen team, and even the partner team are meeting weekly. Like
Yeah.
usually it's like once a month or something, maybe and it's like
Yeah.
this check-in thing and it's all around events or something like that. So that's really good advice. I think that's something somebody could take away. Hey, I need to just really dig in and start meeting on a regular basis with my partners over there in partner marketing or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Even if it's a quick 15-minute like stand-up call,
Yeah,
right? You just have a quick check-in, what's going on here, anything change. You can always skip it if there's nothing, no update that week, but it's
of
good to have
course.
that standing connection and just break down
Yeah.
the silos, have everyone on the same call.
Yeah, that's great, Jane. I want to go back to something you said, and that was around the partnerships that you choose to work with, and that is those that, obviously that may have more easy to work with or
Yeah.
things like that. I mean, I think that's a pretty obvious thing. Like like sometimes we dismiss those that, like I'm not, if this guy doesn't respond to my email or this gal's not, engaging with me, I'm just not
Yeah.
going to continue. Right.
Yeah.
But I wonder, obviously, when you're building those strategies and thinking about that, you're thinking about how your organization and your demand gen efforts can benefit. But how do you start to build strategies that also help benefit the partner as well? Like, how do you make sure those are mutually um, beneficial activities for both
Yeah.
parties?
Great question. Always top of mind for me. I think I've always had this in mind of how can we make this mutually beneficial. But when I was working at Just Do Know, to bring them up again, a coworker of mine, Jenna Ochoa, shout out to Jenna, she's awesome. But she got it in my head. She was on our heading up our partnerships, our tech partnerships, that we need to show value to our partners first. Not even mutual first, but it's how can we give, and then get.
Mm,
And you're not even thinking right about the get. It's meant to be genuine. Like, how can I help this partner? And it comes back tenfold when you do that. So if you think about like, if you have top of mind sending them referrals or looping them into something, right? That's free of charge, having them mentioning them in a piece that you're writing, a content piece, linking to them and just giving them an FYI. These little value adds just go such a long way in building that relationship,
Mm.
especially if you're genuinely not expecting something in return. You're just trying to build a relationship as humans. That
Yeah.
goes so far. And Jenna actually did something. I'm still on the fence on how I feel about this. I'm curious your thoughts. She did a really cool initiative at our company where she would spiff internally anybody who referred business to our partners. So not spiffing our
Oh.
partners for inbound, that is kind of a given, but anyone internally, like the CS team, the account reps, would get spiffed for any lead that they referred out to a partner.
Well, one, I love that because I
Yeah.
love doing
Yeah.
referrals to partners while I'm working with clients. That's an easy
Yeah.
thing for me to do is to pull in some of our partners to just enhance what we're providing them. I
Yeah.
actually really like that idea.
Yeah.
It what changes the focus, right? Or
Yes.
at least, I mean, people do what they're motivated to do, and so that carrot is really important to put out there, as opposed to the stick of like, hey, don't forget about the partners, those sorts of things, or some
Yeah.
sort of quota or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
there's a stick behind not meeting the quota versus like the carrot of the spiff of if I bring in a partner to it, or do a referral or something like that. I
Yeah.
really like that idea. That's
Yeah.
great.
And it does, in theory, there's a lot of research behind it that it works out. But I think there's a
Mm.
lot of hesitancy, even like you can see my face. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it yet because it scares me. I'm so used to being like our company first, our demand in first. Like we want leads coming our way. So it's hard to break that mentality, but it does take that theory of just giving, giving, giving before you get to another
Yeah.
level. So definitely test
Yeah.
it out, folks. It's not too big of an
Okay.
investment to try.
Yeah, for real. I like that a lot. Um, so we've talked about like how do we select partners, or how do we work partners into our programs from a strategy perspective? Like, how do you activate that? Like, what does it look like when you're actually building your campaign, you're getting ready to launch, or you're getting ready to go to market, or something like that? Like, what does that look like from a integration standpoint?
Yeah. So something at Daxtra, what we're doing since we're kind of we're going partner first really in Q1 is we're leaning a lot on Reveal, which is now going to be Crossbeam, to identify overlaps and opportunities and building campaigns around that with our partners. So going to market together, and building campaigns and messaging together with these core partners. And this is in addition to every other partner aspect or content creation that we're doing. But we're going first with, okay, these are our partners' customers who are not our customers yet, identifying those, going after those for as a target audience, and building campaigns around there. And that's with sales, partnerships, partner marketing, all working together. There's also a component of CS. So if we have case studies from CS that we can bring in, so it's full go-to-market team working on that collaboratively.
Yeah, that's good. Um, so once you've launched, how are you measuring success of using partners? You
Yeah.
talked a little bit earlier about some of the success you had seen, but like, how, some of that may not be tangible one to one. And, our
Yeah.
common listeners will know that I don't like the one to one attribution. So
Yeah.
I'm all about, the collective, really lifting all the
Same.
boats. Yeah. So, but, I'm sure you're being asked, like, and maybe not in your current role because you definitely are partner first, but in some cases you probably have been asked, like, all right, what's the benefit of doing this? Or how are we measuring, this partner versus that partner, those sorts of things.
For sure. And sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not, right? So if we're thinking individual efforts, let's say we do a collaborative webinar together with a partner or that masterclass series I mentioned,
Sure.
it's easy to track what comes in from this, right? We have X hundred new contacts in the system, and X turn into MQLs, X turn into opportunities, just tracking that pipeline directly from those lead forms, right, that are coming in from registrants. So that makes it easy, which is kind of why it's a default for me to always start there for content creation. It's easy to track as you're starting out. But as we get bigger and we're thinking more ABM campaigns and something comes in, an opportunity comes in, hand raiser, and it's from a partner, they mention, right, like, where did you hear about us from this partner? How do we track that, right? Is it coming as a referral? Is it because we did this marketing piece together? I'm in your camp. I hope here, I don't want to speak for you. I don't care.
Hmm.
I don't care about credit. I do care where it's coming from and finding details, right? Like what journey worked. But if I can see that this company or somebody from this company attended this webinar and came to our website for this and checked out this content and then came in as a referral, I'm a happy camper. That means they had a proper journey, whatever that looks like, the squiggly line. Marketing helped support this. I don't care about credit. As long as it comes in as an opportunity, that can come in as a referral, and whatever we want to track there. And that does come up, right? Because sales do care about
Yeah,
credit because they get comped on it. Typically, marketing doesn't. Sometimes marketing does nowadays. So it all depends
yeah,
on your setup. But I really wish marketing and sales and partnerships could get away from the credit conversation and just look at the full
agreed.
journey and all of the touch points that help lead to opportunities, right? Get marketing away
Yeah,
from MQLs and into pipeline and opportunity generation and everybody just working together collaboratively. The
yeah,
dream.
is that holistic sort of, yeah, exactly, go-to-market team, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's interesting because a lot of times you don't think about partnerships as being part of the go-to-market team, which is exactly what we've been talking about that,
Yeah.
um, here. But um, so you've talked a little bit about like multiple partnerships and how you are prioritizing
Yeah.
those, going into your 2025 plan. How do you How do you stay away from being overwhelmed with the amount of complexity that can be involved in having multiple partnerships to either choose from and or have to work with, those sorts of
Yeah.
things?
When I figure that out, I'll let you know, right? The
Yeah,
overwhelm. I feel like
okay.
overwhelm is just a part of marketing life,
Yes.
especially the last few years. You just have to learn how to like separate your sanity from that overwhelm. But I think it's just having constant conversations with your team and deciding, okay, how are we deciding which partners we're focusing on, documenting, right? So everybody has this written. You don't have this one-off meeting. No one writes it down, shares it, and then you have to have the same meeting again. Like, no, we
Yes.
agreed on this. Oh, I thought we agreed on this. Document, share, reshare, and keep
Yes.
realigning like what you decided on. And what I always say too is, okay, we picked these 5 partners, for instance, to start off the year with. That doesn't mean it's exclusive. That doesn't mean we can't start building relationships with other partners. It just means this is our focus. This is our priority one. So as long as we're all in alliance there, then we can look at what's on our plates, right? Okay, this is priority one. We're introducing this. Awesome. This is where we can slot them in, the new partner, or this P1 partner isn't working out. Maybe it's not, the campaign isn't working the way we want it to. Okay, let's
Sure.
revisit that and pop it in. But we tend to start looking at it by total, the 2 things again, right? Total the TAM or the SAM, like whatever the market opportunity is there, and ease of working with them. Do we have an integration? Is their team on board and excited to work with us? Those soft
Hmm.
factors make such an impact on that ultimate decision. So opportunity, total market, and also integration, ease of working with them.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's great. I can see how it can be very overwhelming, right? I mean, to your point, we're overwhelmed and everything, but
Yeah.
I think when especially if you're just starting out and you're hearing this podcast, you're like,
I
dang,
don't want
I
to
haven't
scare
done a
everyone.
really good job. By the way, I
Yeah.
have that same water bottle. I have the same Awala, same
These are the
color.
best. Oh, how
Yes, I
funny.
love them too.
Team Awala.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Sponsor the
And
show, Awala.
like, yeah, there you go. um, but I think, if somebody's listening, they're going, man, we do these partner events or, something like that. Yeah, they're kind
Yeah.
of woven into what we do, but I haven't really thought about how do we use that strategically. What would your and I'm jumping ahead maybe to a little bit
Yeah.
of our pro tip. So I've got a couple other things to
Oh,
talk
good.
about, but like, where would you start? Like, how do you like get started doing this if you haven't really been integrating partners into your demand gen strategy?
Yeah, super simple. Everything comes down to asking the right questions, right? So ask yourself or ask your team, depending on your position, what partner could I loop in to 2x, 3x the results of this campaign? Just ask yourself that. Very, very rarely, the answer might be no one. Like we shouldn't loop anyone in.
Mm,
This should be just us, just our brand. There are, times where that happens, but it's very rare. Typically, there is an opportunity. And if you don't know, ask your sales team, ask your CS team, look at your Salesforce or your CRM, right? What if there's any tech stack tracking? What is a commonality that you're seeing, or something that like the audience you want to build this for is also using? Use
Mhm.
Reveal, but there's ways to start. But first, just ask yourself, ask your team, are there partners, or which partners could I bring in to just magnify and accelerate this campaign? 'Cause there's
That's
almost always someone.
that's great advice, Jane. I love that so much. Um, so as someone's starting this or going in, or maybe they've been, doing some of this for a while, or just maybe this year or something like that. Like, what are some of those pitfalls that you've experienced, or you've seen, companies have experienced through, some of these areas in using partners?
Yeah. So I'm a very type B person. I love
Oh,
type A people. Super organized. I so respect and admire and am jealous of that. But it's not me. I'm the crazy person. If you could see my desk behind me, it's insane. But I you have to, in partnerships and partner marketing, you have to be comfortable with gray area. So there
mm,
are times where things come up. It's like, oh, but this is exactly who we should be going after. Or is this partnerships, and bringing back the credit conversation? Is this partner marketing? Is it this type of partner? What is this? And how do we define this partner? Just all of these questions can come up that are very, very distracting sometimes, and they can
mhm,
take you away from
mhm.
the end goal. If you find yourself rabbit holing in definitions and really having clear boundaries, I would say take yourself out of that a little bit, go more high level, and think bigger picture again, and just try to simplify it. Because I think that's a pitfall in partnerships, that we get into our own heads and trying to over define and analyze and make it very type A. And it's naturally, from my experience, more of a gray area space. It's less defined. There's overlap between partnerships, sales, partner marketing. So being
Yeah,
comfortable with the gray area is key.
yeah. Okay, that's great advice. Have you shared some examples of some great things that have worked for you? Have you had any challenges that you've had to overcome, or like some areas where it just didn't work out the way you had planned?
Yeah. I mean, always, right?
Mhm.
There's times where, like, you can launch oh, you know what's the worst thing? You're going to encounter this, everyone in partner marketing. And this is how you identify who's good to work with and who's not at the moment. Doesn't mean you can't try again later. But if you have a campaign, everything's looking great, but the partner does not send out their email, or does not send out whatever their version of it is to promote your content that you created together. Because
Yes.
the promotion plan is key. You don't want to create this content, spend this time and these resources, and then it's not promoted. So I've had many a times where partners have promised they're not just going to share on social, which we all know gets really nowhere. If it's organic social, you get maybe one registration. If it's a webinar, one download, it's hard. So if they don't send out that email to their audience, it fails on that end, right?
Mm.
So
Mhm.
a workaround, this is probably obvious because I've been talking about bringing in lots of partners, but bring in more than one partner. So that way it's not reliant on this one partner who might be new. You don't know how reliable they
Mm.
are,
Mhm.
or something happens on their end and they can't send an email blast. So making sure where you can bring in more than one partner. So you're still expanding your reach. It's still going to be successful at the end of the day, even if one partner drops the ball. And you can always do it after the fact too. So remember repurposing. And if they drop the ball, you
Yes.
can very kindly and understandably call them out on it and ask them to repurpose it later on. Like, oh, sure, you
Yeah.
didn't get to do this. I understand shit happens, but can you promote it after
Mhm.
the fact, the recording, to your audience?
Yeah. You're silently judging their inability to not promote.
Not just their grammar. Honestly, though, if
Uh,
somebody, it happens. Like, I've probably been I drop
yes.
many a balls. So I'm not pointing a finger. If I point one finger, right,
Yes.
three point right back at me.
Yes.
But it's more if they acknowledge, like, oh, I didn't get to do that this week, or we're not going to get to because of ABC. What can we do? I'm totally fine with that. We're humans, things happen. Let's work around it. But it's when people don't acknowledge, right? And they're like, oh, I sent it out. Like, no, you definitely didn't send it out because there's zero traffic coming for your link, there's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, that's spot on. I love that. That's really good because it doesn't always work out the way you plan, and you have to be able to roll with it.
Yes.
Um, I'm curious what you think the partnership landscape looks like for B2B in the future. Like, how is it going to grow? Where are there going to be opportunities? Do you have any thoughts on what that might look like and how that is evolving in the B2B space?
Yeah. I think so. It's interesting because the past few years, as there's been so many scale backs of marketing teams and other teams, I've seen partnerships get impacted astronomically. Here, they seem to be one of the first teams to be let go. That's partner marketing and partnerships, so different aspects. Again, they mean different things. Even these terms are kind of gray at different companies, right?
Yeah.
But I've seen it be the first to go, and that blows my mind every time because to me, that is your demand gen engine. That's your accelerator. So if you get rid of that, it's so detrimental in my opinion. But I see it growing and coming back. I think people are going to realize this, especially we're in the age of relationships being the core of everything in B2B.
Mhm.
And that's like everyone is still hungry for this human interaction, right? Post COVID, we love events again. The smaller the event, the more cozy and intimate it is, the
Mhm.
better. So that all comes back to relationships, which is what partnerships and partner marketing is all about, leveraging those relationships. So I just see it growing. Um,
Mhm.
how? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how
Mm.
that
Mhm.
pans out.
I think that's really important to point out is back in, one of our previous episodes, we talked with Kerry Cunningham around his buyer's journey research for B2B buyers. And
Cool.
one of the things he talked about is that importance of building relationships sort of in the dark time frame. My words, not
Yeah.
his, of a buying journey where, the buyers are doing research, they're trying, they're and then getting in there to build relationships while they're doing that versus trying to just get the sales meeting, just get the meeting, just get the demo,
Yes.
just get the demo, right? And we're actually working with a client right now and building a program for them, an ABX or an ABM program. And um, one of the things we've brought to bear there is like, hey, let's bring the BDRs in earlier in the buyer's
Yeah.
journey, and accept that the the tone of that interaction will be and should be different. So we've talked to the leader of that team and said, here's our thought process and here's why, right?
Yeah.
Leverage the research. And she was like, "Yeah, that totally makes sense." And I told her, I said, "This stage is not about getting the demo. It's not about getting. It's building relationships, broadening this
Yeah.
reach inside the buying committee, those sorts of things." So, to your point, I think the partnership part of that is really important because you can expand those
Yeah.
relationships. You've got other angles to get into, a buying committee or to, get connected with a buyer. So I think that's
Yes.
really smart.
Yeah. It's so true. I love what you're saying there 'cause it's making me think another aspect we're getting involved in and where I'm trying to rethink things is I- how can I carve out budget to get in front of more partners, right? Not just with our
Mm,
partners going to market together, but also going to market to our partners to spread awareness there to bring more partnership opportunities. So there's a new
yeah.
layer we're going to toy with and experiment with there. For instance, going and attending your partner's SKOs. That's something we're toying with right
Yes.
now just to build those relationships to your point, and it's not closing a sale at the SKO, right? Like this is an
Mhm,
event. We're not going to track
mhm.
it like typical events of, okay, how many booth scans did we get? It's not like that. It's
No.
building that relationship, planting those seeds so that you know who to be in touch with continuously and help them. And then that is
Mhm.
reciprocated. So, yeah, planting those seeds of a relationship.
Yeah, that's great. I think back to the spiff conversation we were
Yeah.
having earlier too, it's like it if you have a good partnership agreement set up with your partners where you have referral fees and those sorts of things, you could pay for those spiffs out of those referral fees, right? Like
Yeah.
those don't all have to. So there's a good balance there. It's not like you have to go dig, deeper into the couch cushions to find more change to
Yeah.
throw to your salespeople. Like the money is there to do that if you have the right structure and framework set
Yeah.
up in your organization.
Yes. That's a great point. And it does so feel like that lately, like nowadays of You're like scrounging for every nickel on the couch. Like, where can I take this from to fuel this, to fund this?
Yes.
That's a great meme
I
right there. You
know.
got to bring to life.
Yeah. I always like it when somebody goes, "Hey, look, I found
Yeah.
a couple $1,000. Let's go do something."
It's
And you're like,
like when you get a
"Okay."
20 in your jacket pocket that you didn't have since last winter. And it's like, yes, now I can buy
Yeah.
something.
Yes. Well, as your son gets older and he's, gets into his teen years, which my kids are, you'll find
Yeah.
them in the laundry and then you get to keep them. Finders
Oh,
keepers.
there we go.
That's the way I put it. Yeah.
I love it.
Uh, okay, well, this is great. I'm actually, I love the pro tip, which we sort of talked about earlier, which is like just start asking the questions, as you're designing. And I actually am going to take that back to our team. We have a couple campaigns. We're in the design mode right now and building that strategy and the
Yeah.
content, the messaging, the offers. Like, hey, is there a channel we can pull in here with partners that might, help us to really just pour fuel on the fire of the campaign? So I appreciate that, Jane, so much
Yes.
and your thoughts there. So,
Thank you.
um, well, thank you for being a guest on our show. We're
Anytime.
so grateful to have you. I would love to give you an offer or offer you an opportunity to tell the audience about your show. I know you also
Oh,
host a
thank you.
a show too, so I want to give you a little chance to promote here.
Oh, appreciate the plug. Yeah, so I have a show that's my own. I'm not trying to sell anyone or anything. And not associated with any brand at the moment. But it's called Women in B2B Marketing. My goal is just to recreate more of these conversations, get more women on mics and stages and in our feeds. Because a couple years ago, it is getting better now. I looked at my feed and all of my marketing shows were men talking to other men about marketing. Love you guys, but it doesn't represent that reality of marketing, which skews female. It's like 67,
Oh yeah,
69% female. So
yeah,
it just doesn't make sense. So we need to get more women out there, and the show is for everyone. However you identify, it's not just for women. It's just featuring women to get more women out there comfortable on stages, on mics, and
love that.
get them out there. Yeah, take a listen. I
Great.
would
Well, we
appreciate
will
it.
drop a link to the show in our show
Thank
notes
you.
so that everybody can find it pretty easily. But Jane, thank you for being a guest here today, and
Thank
we're
you.
really we're honored to have you, and thank you for all your insights.
Thank you. This was so fun. Happy to do it. Happy
All right,
holidays, everyone.
thanks. Thanks for tuning in to the Rev Room today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. For more, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Don't forget to follow Inverta on LinkedIn for more updates and exclusive content. That's Inverta, INVERTA. Have a question or a topic you'd like us to cover? Reach out and let us know. Until next time, keep innovating and driving that revenue growth. See you next time.